Hey guys, this is Jared from Nerdy Geek Talk, the source of all your nerdy geeky needs, here with episode 1 of Misaligned, our brand new Transformers Aligned Continuity podcast. Joining me are Soundjack. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Jared, and how are you?
Doing good, thank you. Also joining me is Zeus. How are you?
Pretty good. A little hungry, but that's about the norm for me.
Alright, and for what we were going to be doing today is we're going to be discussing the first 3 chapters of the Covenant of Primus, right?
Yes.
Alright. So, the first chapter is the 13 Primes. Second chapter, Expulsion of Unicron. And the third chapter is the War of the Primes. So, I don't have all that much knowledge about that stuff, so I'm going to leave that to you guys.
Alright, and I've only read a few things on the wiki, so why don't we start with Soundjack, who's the only one in this call who actually has the book.
Yeah, we were supposed to have someone else, but Aaron, who's going to be here, is not here this week.
Yeah,
he got busy with family.
Yeah, but
I'm taking issue with right now. I'm tweeting at Jared. I'm tweeting at Aaron. We're gonna have a feud. We're gonna fight it all out on the next episode.
Good. But before I actually start diving into the chapters, I want to bring up the foreword very briefly, since it's written from the author of this book, Alpha Trion's perspective, and just how he specifically states that the Covenant of Primus that is in, my hand, is not the actual Covenant of Primus, as it spans for so much period of time, and this is only a fragment of it, as well as the fact he rearranged concepts and ideas to better suit English-speaking audiences. So he admits that he is admittedly a bit of an unreliable narrator when it comes to this. So, while this is all we have to go on, according to the foreword, we have to take it with a bit of a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't know that Alpha Trion went by the name Justina Robson.
Shh. In the foreword, in the note, the foreword just reads Alpha Trion at the end. So, this is canonly Alpha Trion writing to the humans of the Aligned Continuity, apparently.
Okay. Because it says here on the wiki that this was written by someone named Justina Robson. I just assumed that was some kind of pen name for Alpha Trion.
Well, I mean, also apparently Alpha Trion died during the Prime cartoon, and he talks about things that happened at the end of the Prime cartoon, so maybe that was his ghostwriter.
Maybe it was an actual ghostwriter. I can see it now. Alpha Trion possesses some woman on modern-day Earth and starts writing the Covenant of Primus. Everyone thinks she's crazy, and then the government hunts her down. Why was this never in Transformers Prime?
Exactly.
Because it actually happened and the government doesn't want you to know.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I can hear the FBI knocking at my door, coming in to take me away.
Yeah, I can, and it may be dark out, but I can still see the Secret Service men and the Men in Black about to break down my door, so...
So we better hurry this along then, I guess.
Yep. The first and last episode of Misaligned.
Yeah, but we got to finish this episode first before the FBI come for us.
Yep.
So as we're doing this chronologically, and in the in-universe timeline, we're actually going to start basically page 2 of the book itself and actually go into the origin of Primus and Unicron first. So basically how the Covenant of Primus describes it is that at the beginning of time, or actually before time had measure, quoting the book right here, there was a single being without identity or name but it was able to observe the universe and explore the galaxy, and then it wondered why it was alone, and then it just started to have a conversation with itself, and eventually it developed two distinct personalities which would take the names Primus, meaning first and one, and the other named himself Unicron, meaning unique and one. And eventually, with Primus, they knew they were one being, but they were two separate pieces because they had divided their personality so much that they physically split into two entities, but we're still traveling.
I can hear the FBI knocking down my door right now. You better hurry up.
Okay, so they split themselves into two entities, but they still travel the universe together. Unicron destroying things, Primus trying to make reparations until he could take it no longer, and they started an eternal war. But Primus knew he could not stop it, so he did the one thing and removed himself from the playing field, and thereby, in order to still have a way to stop Unicron, was to create the 13 primes. And the reason he created 13 Transformers, the 13 primes, was so as there were 13 different routes for defeating Unicron, with each having a different personality, different viewpoints, different thoughts, different ways of going about the problem of Unicron that he alone could not.
Okay, so I'm like 80% sure that was the plot for an episode of Futurama, but
I wouldn't be surprised.
most things are a plot for an episode of Futurama.
That's fair. Even things written before for Futurama
did you
were
know
plots
that
of
the Bible
Futurama.
was actually adapted from that one episode of Futurama where Fry's head got stuck on Amy? I've done it again, haven't I? I've ruined another podcast.
Yeah. I don't even know what you're referencing. I know Futurama, but I haven't watched that many episodes.
Me neither.
Yeah.
But I've definitely heard of it.
Yeah. But unless either of you two have any questions or interest or comments about the origins of Primus and Unicron.
So I just had, has it always been a thing to have Primus as being a part of Cybertron or being actually Cybertron like he was in the Unicron trilogy, or was that something they did specifically for Galaxy Force and Cybertron?
I believe no. The original Marvel comics had basically Primus's face as the core of Cybertron. And then Octopunch, I believe it was Octopunch, shot Unicron in the face. I mean, Primus in the face, causing him to wake up and scream. And a later comic would explain that started a whole chain reaction of Unicrons finding Primus across the multiverse.
Yeah, no, Screaming Planet was definitely an episode of Futurama I don't remember super well, anyways, because it's been years since I watched Prime, but was that a similar thing in the show where Primus became the planet or was a part of the planet? Because I think that was like what they did for the finale.
I mean, if I remember the cartoon specifically correctly, the Primus and Unicron seemed to have actually warred on Cybertron's surface, and then when Primus decided to leave the field of battle, he went to the core and became the core.
Okay.
So he wasn't necessarily all of Cybertron, I guess.
He's like the core of the Earth is to Cybertron.
Yeah, and Unicron's just the core of the Earth. But regardless, in this book, we do get into a full-fledged planetary battle. A battle against the giant planet form Unicron, so I don't know.
Maybe he was a planet before he became Earth?
I don't know. They don't explain that in the book. Alpha Trion is an unreliable narrator, guys.
Thanks. It's confusing and no one understands it. I think that's about it for that.
Yep.
But
Let's
anyway.
move on before I end up causing us to spend 20 minutes on this and then we miss out on everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, so Primus took himself out of the battle. Primus decides to create the 13. And according to the book, the first thing Alpha Trion does is to write down, have all of the primes write down who they are as Primus originally designed them before growth and development and stuff would change their personalities. So the descriptions listed in the Covenant of Primus are the descriptions of how they are how they were originally conceived. So
they fail us all.
And of course, all are listed in the order of how they were actually created by Primus. And the first one is Prima, who, even in here, is the archetypical hero, a warrior made closest to Primus's own type and intents, focused on the greater good.
And then after that, it was Vector, right?
Yes. Also with Prima's main weapon being the Star Saber.
Oh.
Character, though, the actual sword, which is what that name has become most associated with.
Yes. So,
which is unfortunate, because Star Saber's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
little man inside a bigger man inside a huge man. That's pretty much the easiest way to get to my heart.
I mean, Star Saber's a religious nut, so he probably just named himself after the legendary sword.
Yeah.
Well, he's only a religious nut in IDW.
Fair.
This is W. This is the aligned continuity.
We don't know if he's a religious nut or not in the aligned continuity. He hasn't appeared in it.
No. Not yet, at least.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever will, because they've moved away from the aligned continuity, right?
Isn't Rescue Bots Academy still in continuity with Rescue Bots?
Oh yeah, I'm really excited for that Star Saber cameo in Rescue Bots Academy. He goes on a killing spree and kills off half the cast in the first season. That's going to be great children's TV.
Yeah.
I mean, I was only making a point that the aligned continuity is not dead yet, because that still exists. But continuing on, you were right, Vector Prime is next. Vector Prime, a serious stoic personality with a very narrow view of correctness. Primus was always right, and by extension, as a creation of Primus, Vector himself could not be in the wrong. Very, very strict guy, that Vector Prime, apparently.
Yeah.
Also, he could control time
and space.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big robot Doctor Who.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But he was able to create and prevent paradoxes as it suited to him, or to distort or mend the fabric of our physical reality. And his artifact was the Blades of Time. And according to this, despite its name, was not a weapon but a mandala made up of many separate pieces which could fit together in a nearly infinite variety of ways. And depending upon
what's a mandala for those of us who only speak English?
That is an English word, and I want to say it's kind of. Let me double check. I should have checked this before, but I want to say.
Why don't I rephrase that? What is it for anyone who only speaks American?
A geometric figure representing the universe in Hindu and Buddhist symbolism.
I didn't know that Transformers were Hindu or Buddhist.
Okay, I assumed it was just like an hourglass thing, because in his artwork in the book, it looks like an hourglass thing.
Well, you should have just said an hourglass.
But it said a mandala.
Well, when I asked you what a mandala was, you could have said it's an hourglass.
Well, I was wrong.
Not in this context, you weren't, Soundjack.
No, I was, because its apparently default form is mandala, but it can take other forms, and I guess one of those forms is an hourglass.
This is all too confusing. I thought he was just a big man that controlled time. I didn't know
the primes are confusing. They were, when this book was written, they were all multiversal singularities. Every time they appeared in continuity, it was the same one across every single universe.
Yes, but I wasn't expecting I'd have to deal with space Buddha watches today.
Well, you had to, and now we can move on.
Yeah.
To the third
Good
prime.
Good idea.
To the third prime, Alpha Trion, historian of the primes and memory of Primus, in case Primus was ever recalled to life. He even describes himself as in nature to be detached, although I don't believe I was uncaring. I took a philosophical attitude and analytic appreciation of others and their deeds. And he was gifted with 2 artifacts. Very special guy, that Alpha Trion. He got the Covenant of Primus, which which had text written by Primus's will, and then the quill, which allowed him to write in the Covenant of Primus himself.
I thought it was just going to be a quill on a piece of paper. So that's different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Though they can also take on whatever form suits the time. But I guess that's
So he's just kind of a big nerd.
pretty much.
Yeah.
He's the bookkeeper.
Hmm.
The next one, though...
Big angry space librarian.
Okay, maybe not angry, just old and grumpy.
Hmm.
Yeah, all right. Big space librarian.
Yeah. Yeah. Continuing on, next up we have Solus Prime. The creator. Solus was a calm and confident person who was beloved by all the other primes, both for her positive and intelligent support as a friend, and also for her ability to create instruments and objects of any kind.
Okay. I still don't understand how gender works in Transformers. I know that's going to be like a half-hour discussion, but can you try to sum it up in like
Do you
2,
just?
3
How's about if I just read what's on the page?
Yeah, all right.
It's like half a page, but
I mean, if you want to do this the right way, I guess.
like literally, the description for gender in Transformers is longer than the description for the next prime.
Yeah, okay. Summarize then. Summarize.
I'm trying to do it brief by just like skimming. The primes and the later Transformers do not have gender in the same way that humans and certain other biological species do. Here, Solus Prime and those who later formed in her lineage are referred to as she in order to comply with their human gender references and to show a distinction that Cybertronians recognize among themselves, though other races do not. To Cybertronians, there are two distinctive kinds that we easily divide ourselves into, recognizing key feature differences in the manner in which information is processed. It is widely supposed among the remaining primes that this difference was necessary for Solus herself to operation the creation lathe, which I'll talk about in a moment, which required a vast capacity for wide-ranging and parallel thought processing. After we became part of the wider galactic community, we used the habit of using gender reference protocol when interacting with gendered aliens, blah, blah, blah. We recognize the difference, we celebrate our equality. In early pre-contact Cybertronian notation, however, all primes and others are referred to by a single symbol. I note that in human terms there is a rough 1-to-1 ratio of male to female that does not correspond to our 1-12 distinction, and I apologize to any females of the species who may feel slighted at having their pronoun applied to the less numerous type of Cybertronian.
So they can operate the Space Forge? Is that what you said?
Basically.
Mhm.
There's some type of different way their brains respond or process information that again, going back to what Solus's artifact is, her main artifact is the Forge of Solus Prime, which is a hammer that along with the creation lathe, which is a holographic projection that her body created in 3 dimensions around her whenever she is working, allows her to make anything that she can or wants. And according to this, apparently she created an entire set of armor with a single swing of the mighty device that took stellar cycles of thought and refined thought and tempered to absolute precision in its arc and anvil strike.
Okay, but I thought Magnus ended up using the Forge too. Did he not actually create anything with it? I don't remember.
Magnus didn't, but Optimus was able to upgrade the ground bridge into a space bridge, and Megatron used it to create the Star Saber.
And
The
That's
Dark
why he
Star
had-
Saber.
I think Prime also used it to rebuild his Star Saber after
Yes,
the
that's
Dark
true.
Star Saber destroyed it.
Yes.
Right, and that was why. Right, that's why Megatron ended up needing to cut off his arm and get that other arm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because only a Prime can wield it. And then the last of its energy was used to bring Prime back to life, and nothing was hit. It just exploded in magical energy, and Optimus can now fly.
Yeah,
Because TV show.
Yep.
exactly.
Yep. But moving on from the long discussion that is Solus Prime, let us move on to the 5th Prime, Micronus Prime.
I thought it was Micronus, and then I also never keep track of whether or not Prime is in there, because I know on the new Power of the Primes figure it just says Micronus.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I think that might just be trademarked, but in the book it's Micronus Prime.
Mm.
Right.
Only, if I remember my counting correctly, 8 of the 13 actually have Prime in their name.
Mm.
Right. There's Liege Maximo, Megatronus, the other
13.
what?
13.
Yeah,
The 13.
I know. 13, who is just named 13 for whatever reason, and then the other 2, who I can't remember off the top of my head.
Prima.
And Alpha Trion.
Yes.
Okay, the other 2 that we've already covered, and I should know.
Yeah.
Great.
But anyway.
So everything but what we've already talked about.
Yeah.
That is... It's great.
It's great. But anyway, Micronus Prime. In most continuities, the first minicon, not explicitly said so as such here. But he is noted to be tiny in comparison to the rest, fast, volatile, and containing more energy packed inside him than 4 of the others put together. What he lacked in scale, he made up for more than with his mind, always coming up with a sensible suggestion or a clever plan. Primus intended him to be the conscience of the rest, and he took his role seriously. His innocent nature made him an immediate friend of Solus, blah, blah, blah. He also had the amazing ability to connect with other primes and boost their power output for incredible feats of strength or endurance.
Okay.
So he has
So is that just like power linking or actual combination?
the power linking more so, but
Yeah.
the power linking is a form of combination if the Energon cartoon is anything to go by.
Mhm.
But I just meant like, giving someone the ability to shoot fire type of power linking, not like combining power linking.
Shooting power type of power linking. He also has an artifact of his own. It's the Chimera Stone, which actually allows him to connect to the other primes. And allow them to share his energies, and allows him to borrow their abilities for a short period of time. Which is neat. I forgot that fact of it until I read the book again the other day. Unless anyone has any comments on Micronus.
Not that I can think of. No, I don't have anything to say.
All right, number 6.
And I've got no jokes to make, so
Okay. Good.
Move on.
Just want to make sure everyone got what they need to say. Number 6 is Alchemist Prime. One of the more mystical primes, an elemental being who perceived the world in terms of its basic forms, spiritual or material, and who was attuned to its cycles. He, in his ability to transmute metals and temporarily alter properties of objects, he seemed more akin to a magician than a battle master. So we just got Alphonse Elric in here.
I don't get that reference.
Full Metal Alchemist. Anime.
Don't watch anime.
It's a good one. You should watch that one.
I don't really watch anime. It's not my thing.
All right, fine. But for Alchemist, his signature artifact is the lenses, which allows him which were apparently integrated into him, allowed to see the furthest stars and to see the smallest of the matter of the universe. It's all an Alchemist there. And then number 7 we're at, right? Yeah, 7.
Yep.
Nexus Prime. The first combiner.
Oh, wow.
There we go. That'll be the one who can buy. I can never keep any of them straight.
Yeah.
And then which was the one that was the headmaster?
There were no headmasters.
Okay, great. So what am I thinking of from the IDW comics?
Oh, no. You're thinking of the Beasts.
Thinking of what?
Beasts. Well, actually, Nexus Prime was, in the IDW stuff, Nexus Prime was the leader of the Headmaster tribe.
That's it. Okay, I'm just getting my continuities confused.
Yeah. No, like, he's still the first combiner, but I get the Headmasters are a form of combination.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. But Nexus had, while among the other middle strata of the 13, he had an elemental quality, but the elements circulate constantly in an exciting mixture, broaching chaos but never tipping into it. With Nexus, blah blah blah, daredevil free spirit. He also, and this also references another thing from a previous fiction. Although later legend would say that Nexus was chopped into bits, the fact was he was the first combiner, made as a single being, and could readily drop into 5 separate parts, each with its own body and personality. Even after spending cycles apart on different projects, these bots would reunite happily and become Nexus once again without any loss or struggle.
So it's like that Minicon set that came out, the deluxe one that came out for Thrilling 30.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
All right.
Centuritron.
Actually, I
Yes.
had a question about Nexus,
Yes.
sort of. So you would, like, Overlord fit under the category of whatever Nexus would be? Would he fit into one of those tribes?
Probably. I know Hasbro has been very fond of throwing the term Duocon around a lot recently.
Yeah, especially with, what's his name? Battle.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
Battletrap was a Duocon, but I think they used to refer to it as to Overlord. Used the same kind of feature to refer to Dragonstorm from the movies.
I heard the FBI again.
Oh yeah. I saw the sirens go off. And apparently even Darkwing and Blackwing and Dreadwind's instructions list their combined jet mode as a Duocon.
So they're just kind of playing it a little bit looser with the term Duocon now, I guess?
It's just any 2 Decepticons that combine, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would guess he would be involved in that kind of camp.
Alright.
Um,
So cons, Minicon combiner from Thrilling 30. Other things I can't think of. Overlord, that's where this all started. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the signature artifact of Nexus Prime was the Enigma of Combination, which could convert into itself whatever he wanted it to, weapon, body part, etc., jewel, but is capable of bestowing the ability of combination on others. So then, after that, we move on to Onyx Prime, the 8th Prime, who I couldn't tell through looking at this one piece of artwork in here, but Chris McFeely has been very vocal in pointing this out since Onyx Prime's been appearing in the IDW comics recently. He's actually a quadruped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that on Twitter.
Yeah, he's like...
He pointed out where those extra legs were.
Yeah. And the artwork has him kind of like in this reared up pose, which is like really hard to distinguish because he's all the same shade of colors.
Oh yeah.
So he's kind of like a... Okay.
He's like a winged centaur thing.
Centaur, thank you. For some reason I kept thinking Centurion. I don't even know what that is. Isn't that something Roman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But main thing about Onyx, actually the book, his paragraph goes on more about his artifact than himself, with his artifact being the Triptych Mask, which had 3 faces that allowed him to freely access his own subconscious and the roots of all living beings, of all living awareness in all creatures. With each mask doing different things. With the first mask at the top of the totems was named Farsight. This opened visions to other places and times, many real, some unreal. He knew the difference, but nobody else who tried to see through it could tell what was truth and what was some distant creature's dream. Second mask in the center of the column was Predator. This gave him immediate insight into any creature so he could hunt it faultlessly. The third mask was the strange, undead face of Mornsong. It was alive and vigorous on the back, but cold and empty on the front, and gave visions that only Onyx was able to comprehend. He reported faithfully, watching me write it down, that Mornsong shows the journey of a spark across the hidden regions of death.
So, what exactly is Onyx's function or ability? Is he deaf? I can't...
He's the beast.
Beast, alright. Oh.
He's the first beast transformer.
Oh, okay. You gave me some bad flashbacks there to that comic.
Yeah, he is playing a lot like the god of death or whatever for whatever reason.
Onyx sounds really ominous, I think.
Yeah, it does. He's also portrayed a lot kinder in this novel, in this book, as opposed to the IDW comics. But hey, we now have all the multiverses are. The multiversal boundaries are now stronger because of the shrouding, because of Nexus Prime, and now they're all separate, so they can all be their own individual persons.
Yeah. I didn't understand a word of what you just said, but sure.
I don't think the people writing it did either.
All right,
Probably not.
They were just trying to get themselves out of a loophole.
Yep.
Yeah, I think maybe part of the reason that he's become associated with death is because of, you mentioned the mask, and
Yeah.
one of those was hunting, and the other wasn't it something about carrying death?
Yeah, apparently, like, he can, like, the one allows him to see the sights of other creatures, whether they're awake or asleep. He can figure out the best way to hunt down any creature, and he can also see creatures in the afterlife.
All right, yeah, so I think that might be why they're kind of associating him with being the prime of death now.
Yeah.
Just because, it's mentioned hunting, and it's mentioned seeing an afterlife.
Which is interesting, since he's not the furthest down on the list of primes.
Yeah.
We do have a few more to go. He's number 8. So then number 9 is Amalgamous Prime.
Who, based on his name, I don't know. When I think of that, that's what I would have thought would have been combination.
Yeah. But he's according to, but his thing is that he's the first true transformer, able to turn into any shape he wants at any given time.
Mm.
More akin to more of the shifters that we saw in the cartoons. Being able to take on, though also being very, very fluid. Like, his picture in the book is just a mess of limbs and whatnot. There's not like a distinct head or anything.
Oh yeah.
He just constantly is in fluid movement and motion and can do whatever he wants with his body.
Sounds very Lovecraftian.
Yeah, kind of, actually. He was also the Joker of the pack, though never cruelly so. His gentle, fun-poking light relief to even as it pushed the comfort zones of the others.
Okay, so the Nightmare Beast is the one that's cracking all the jokes.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. He had a scythe as a weapon, but apparently his main artifact was the transformation cog, which all later T-cogs would be based upon.
Mm.
Though the scythe apparently was also able to shift into whatever form he wanted it to. So it's weird in here because it says his artifact was a scythe, though you would hardly know.
It's everything and anything.
Yeah, so it's as fluid as as Amalgamous is himself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
And then going on, number 10 is Quintus Prime. Very important name we got here.
Yep.
Very similar to the Quintessons and Quintessa.
Yep.
From the movies.
Yeah, that's a thing that's appeared a few times. That name.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Though according to this, he was an innocent daydreamer with a strong tendency towards perfectionism and idealism. He constantly sought expression of his ideas and was driven to prove his theories correct by experimental invention. In this, he was often stymied by the less imaginative primes who had no time for his speculation. He believed overwhelmingly that life was the most important sacred thing to be encouraged to flourish at all costs in all varieties to enrich the universe. With his unique power embodied in his artifact, the Ember Stone, which is the only other thing that is able to give life that besides the Allspark.
Mm.
Huh. Interesting.
Yep.
Didn't know that.
He's also a weird squid monster with arms.
Oh, lovely. We always need more of those.
Yep. Oh, yes, we do.
Makes sense with the Quintessons and whatnot.
Which he goes on to, which I'll just say here, he goes later on, once like the whole War of the Primes is over, he says he's going to help create allies for the Transformers. And then he presumably creates the Quintessons. Look how well that turned out.
Yeah.
So he created the Quintessons, and in this continuity, did the Quintessons still create the Transformers, or
No, they're created. In a later section, the Quintessons invade Cybertron, yes, and make the Transformers believe that they gave them the gift of transformation. The Quintessons gave the Transformers the gift of transformation. And then they figure out, wait, you're lying to us, and then they revolt against them and kick them off Cybertron. But that's for another episode.
Well, I think you just kind of summarized that whole episode right now. Never gonna have to cover that again.
Yep. Whoops.
Sorry.
Well, this is a very limited series we're doing here because, while I'm sure it's a very expansive, and there's a lot to cover in the Aligned continuity, it's still, limited to what's out and available from the Aligned continuity. So, we've just lost an episode. Thanks, Soundjack.
Yeah, we can still cover it. Did we ever explain to the audience what this series is?
We never explained to each other what this series is. I just came on not knowing what we were doing, and as it turns out now, we're just reading straight out of the Covenant.
So, from what I was told from Eric, this is a, probably should have said this at the beginning, but
yeah.
Too late now. This is basically a, explaining and talking about the Aligned continuity and everything that's in it and what it is about and so on and so forth.
Yep.
Which is not a super helpful description.
No.
Based on that, it sounded like, to me, it could have been the kind of thing where there's just one person reading entries out of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Kind of doing like a TF University thing, but specifically for the Aligned continuity.
Well, you guys should have had the book too, so you could have helped me more. Or Aaron should have been here.
I'm sorry that I was out of collecting Transformers during the time that Prime came out and also can't afford a $60 book.
I got it for less than that. But anyway, we should get back on track.
Yeah.
There's a track here?
Yes, the track is Prime number 11, Liege Maximo.
The Loki of the group.
Literally, pretty much, because he's even got the horns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's the talker, the manipulative one who could bend words and thoughts much more easily than metal. His silver tongue was capable of the most eloquent charm, and he soon learned how to pitch whatever line he was selling to the person in question, tailoring his language and methods to exactly match their desires or to feed their suspicions. Which, the book also notes, made him incredibly powerful against this group of very naive individuals.
Of course.
Yeah.
And with his artifact being the Legion darts, which were actual darts that were filled with all kinds of with toxins of all kinds, which he could deploy to disrupt others. But the real darts were his words and his thoughts, their barbs and effects unsurpassed by any mere physical object.
Question: were these darts able to turn into anything he needed, like most of the other artifacts we've heard about?
No, they seem to be like straight up darts, just with any toxin or venom or virus he wants.
He must be very popular in Scotland.
Must be. I don't get the joke.
Darts is very popular in Scotland.
Yeah, I guess. As long as he's not hitting people with them.
Yep.
Okay. All right, now for probably one of the biggest ones of this group, Megatronus. The 12th Prime, a warrior in the mold of Prima, Megatron was his dark antithesis. He was the most complex of all the Primes, caught between warring impulses of immense passion that never allowed him peace. His dedication to Primus was unswerving, but faced with Primus's nature on a daily basis and Primus' the emulation of it, he could not help but see himself as an outsider, forever damned by the very powers that gave him such terrifying strength. Because his spark was the closest designed to Unicron's.
It's not just a phase, Mom.
He's the Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
To an extent.
However, instead of temper tantrums, he just beats the slag out of Starscream.
Megatronus, not Megatron.
Megatronus, yeah.
Yeah.
who Megatron named himself after.
Yeah.
So he probably beat the slag out of someone else.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna say Liege Maximo,
Probably.
because he's pretty much just Starscream, but
Well,
good
we'll
at
see.
manipulation.
We will see as we get along, because there is going to be a war between the primes.
Mm.
So let's move along and get to that. But apparently he was never gifted an artifact from Primus, but one was constructed for him by Solus, and it was the Requiem Blaster, which drew on the burning core of distant suns, casting beams that were of such an intense focused plasma that no material could survive their passage. Yeah.
So, Star Killer Base?
Yeah, apparently. He just strapped to his arm.
Yep.
Okay, conspiracy theory then.
Okay.
Transformers is just the sequel trilogy from Star Wars. It's gonna be
So a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away is the dawn of creation then.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay. Good to know. And then the last prime, the 13th prime. The 13th prime. That's his name in the Covenant.
Or 13.
Because it's explained later, but I'll explain it later when we get to the later explaining point. That was a great sentence I just said.
Excellent.
Nailed
Excellent. A plus.
Anyway,
So, you can explain your explanation? I wasn't super clear on that.
I'll talk about it later, but let's talk about the 13th prime right now. Unlike the other primes, he was a warrior, a physical adept with the leadership and intellectual fortitude of kings. Where Megatronus was riddled with contradiction, 13 had no such troubles and was perhaps as a result far less an ego than any of the other late primes. At the time of our making was quiet and dutiful, obedient to Primus' commands, and dedicated to assisting those who required. He had no special or object or weapon associated with him. It would seem odd if we did not know that his true purpose was as a mediator and a visionary. He was basically the one that made sure the other primes didn't get at each other's throats, which of course happened a lot between Prima and Megatronus since they were their each other's counterparts.
So he kind of just acted like as the dad of the group.
Pretty much. Even though he was the youngest one.
And I would have thought, based on him being unnamed, that maybe his artifact would have been the Matrix of Leadership, and then the title of 13th would just be a thing that gets passed down. Because isn't that how it works in other continuities?
The only one that's really exploring that is the IDW one. And
Alright.
it's currently saying Optimus Prime is the Arisen.
Huh.
And confirmed
Just-
so by Onyx Prime himself.
Huh. So I know things about a comic I'm not keeping up to date on.
Yes.
Great.
However, I'm going to be explicitly here. It's not canon. This is my headcanon. That is based. I have my own headcanon for how the primes work. That is very different from this. That is merely a fair bit different from this. I assume that as well in my headcanon, that the Matrix of Leadership is the symbol of the 13th. Even though the Matrix of Leadership is in the hilt of the Star Saber of Prima. So.
Well.
Yeah. Also, he coined the phrase "all are one."
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Good on him. That's the one of only two phrases that most people know from Transformers.
Yep.
No, three. Sorry, I forgot. Most people also know "Give me your face."
Good.
Uh,
Right. But that's all the primes.
All right.
right.
Unless you have anything else to discuss, I think are we good to move?
Yeah, I think we're good for chapter 2 now.
Chapter 2,
Seeing it-
finally!
Yeah, because we've been doing this for at least half an hour, we might have to kind of rush through this.
We're at
Make
44
it all
minutes.
brief.
Okay. Expulsion.
Right.
Chapter 2, the expulsion of Unicron. This was predominantly, in the book, it was basically split into two sections. Preparing for the battle and the chapter section called Into the Dark, which was them basically fighting Unicron. I'm gonna double check the Ricky for the summary, the
I've got the wiki pulled up already. How about I do your job for you?
Oh, I have it up too. I just need to switch pages.
Great.
Just for
so I have nothing. I offer nothing to this show then.
For the Spark Notes. Okay, right. So, well, you can read off the things on the wiki. And the main thing is that after they were created, they basically started dividing into their own groups of how they would engage into combat, basically. And do you want to read that off?
Sure, I'd love to have something important to contribute. They were split into 3 teams. There were the Warriors, which were Prima, Vector, Megatronus, Onyx, and Amalgamus. The Strategists, which were Alpha Trion, Quintus, Liege Maximo, and Micronus. And the Free Agents, which were able to do direct battle or just other varied attacks. And that would be Alchemist, Solus, Nexus, and 13.
Yep. And so, with all of that, they just had their own teams, and they had to run a lot of tests to fight against Unicron. They built like holodecks to create simulations. They eventually realized that they were like, we got to build a stronger computer to process all the varied patterns of Unicron's thought. And that program kicked the slag out of them a lot. It did. It really did.
Probably.
But 13th brought up the point of Unicron hasn't fought for a long time. He won't be expecting us. He won't be at his full capacity when we engage him.
Hmm.
And that brought some peace to the minds of the other 13. The other main thing of note from the chapter before we get into the battle with Unicron involves Solus and Megatronus, very specifically. Specifically, Megatronus asking Solus to construct for him the Requiem Blaster.
Which, you had mentioned that earlier, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did mention that earlier, but that just because that's where it came from, as opposed to being Primus given.
Yep.
But the main thing about that is that Megatronus, as always, had been like the outsider of the group because he was the most Unicron based. So when Solus actually agreed to make this super powerful weapon for him, he basically fell in love with her and was just adored her for that act. That's
uncomfortable, seeing as they're about as close as Transformers can get to being related.
Yeah. This is a whole thing in the 3rd chapter about their love relationship.
Yeah, Okay, so then why did they call the Prime Wars trilogy the Game of Thrones of Transformers? This is already way closer to being Game of Thrones than the Prime Wars trilogy.
Honestly, it also makes me think of a Shakespeare play. I'll talk about which one when we actually get to the point we're actually discussing. But the main thing also is that like Solus is like, I trust you to be in control of the weapon. The weapon it's not the problem that. The reason I was concerned was because I wasn't concerned about you. I was concerned about the power of the weapon, and I hope you can control it. But that also like boosted Megatron's ego and made him like, look at this great thing I got from Solus.
I got me a big old gun.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it can kill all of you in one blow.
All right.
That's admittedly pretty much it of specifics. One thing about where the Matrix of Leadership came from. I'm going to read this because the wiki doesn't actually summarize this part. Once, where's this actually start? Oh, this is actually talking about what I was talking about with them whole, Unicron's probably not going to be at full strength. We only have one shot at this, but this is going to be what it is. Once that all been settled, all to do was practice and make a few contingency plans. We constructed an energy matrix with the assistance of our new computer, Sigma, which would be stored within the body of Primus. It would be a primary memory core into which all our experiences as living beings would be copied faithfully in case we did not return from battle. Whoever would lead us after that, after our duty was done, would be able to draw upon it in any time, whether the 13 were present or not. Later, this energy matrix came to be known as the Matrix of Leadership, although the 13 did not give it this name. So that's the origin of the Matrix.
Also, the origin of Vector Sigma.
Yes. Yeah, this the supercomputer they made to like process Unicron to make like a realistic Unicron simulation was like the beta version of Vector Sigma. They would create a better one later on, but
All right.
that was the original Sigma computer. Then they get ready for battle, and they fight Unicron. First up were the free agents who went through Vector Prime's portal, and they also decided to attack Unicron after he just finished chowing down on a moon. So the free agent group went in first, then the warriors, and then the thinkers came last. And we do get a lot of this from Alpha Trion's perspective, since he's the one writing all of this down. He was terrified by just the sheer dark energy coming out of him, out of Unicron, with the plan being that the 13 spark was the closest in to Primus spark, so they had to get him to Unicron spark, so it would shut down on itself, and they could change his memory, change his brain pattern, so that would keep him locked in there basically for eternity. Because they couldn't kill him, because if they killed Unicron, they'd probably kill Primus too.
Right, because they're connected.
Yes. And if Primus died, then they'd probably die.
Because they're connected.
Yes.
It's all just a big chain of death.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that should be the episode title. Big Chain of Death.
Yep. Yeah. That's not. Yeah. That's completely fair.
All right.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what was like actually interesting in the battle. Like, Megatronus accidentally shot Vector Prime through the gut.
Oopsies.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that accidentally or accidentally?
Yeah.
Like he was, like they were fighting in him in the middle of the vacuum of space. Megatron was thrown wide. Megatronus was thrown wide by a shot. And he was trying to re-aim at Unicron, and when he fired, he just shot through Vector Prime, which was bad because Vector Prime was important, because Vector Prime was allowing everyone to get to the places they needed to be to destabilize Unicron, and he still needed to get 13 to the center of Unicron so he could shut down his spark.
Hole through the chest, that's just a flesh wound.
Walk it off.
Yeah. You're a prime.
Also, everyone was like really doubting themselves because of the existential dread that is just Unicron. So everyone was going to like quit and like have it go into a panic attack. But then 13 came over the comm and said, "Till all are one," and then everyone like was like, "Yeah, we can do this."
Yeah, he said some words that mean nothing at all to us. Let's do it.
There's like 2 paragraphs of here, like Alpha Trion, like explaining what that message meant to him, but I don't think I need to cover it.
Yeah, we don't care about Alpha Trion's opinions.
I think it was something along the lines of, if Unicron exists and can act freely, I am able to act, and I can act freely. Everyone else's actions affect the universe, and including my actions, and all of our actions affect everyone else as well. So that's what he interpreted by that meaning. So he went to work, destabilized Unicron's left arm to have Unicron down a bit. Vector Prime, with a jumpstart from, I can't remember who gave him the jumpstart, but I want to say it was Amalgamus, was able to teleport 13 inside, and then Unicron shot down, though not before he chomped down on Prima.
Oh.
Chomped him down and spat him back out. However, no one died from this battle. Just a lot of wounded.
Yeah. That's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they went back home, and then we get into chapter 3.
Which is War of the Primes, right?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, wow. Based on just the wiki, this seemed like a long chapter. You sure you don't want to do just half of this and then pick up the other half next
Yeah,
week?
let's try to split this up. We are really doing this without much preparation, folks. We just don't know what the format is.
Yeah. I mean, we had problems getting the Skype call together, so we're not prepared at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had technical difficulties, pretty much.
Yeah.
A lot of technical difficulties, actually.
Too many.
Yeah.
Yep.
Technology hates us. Anyways, let's keep talking about these big robots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest thing of starting this chapter, though, is a note by Alpha Trion saying that they all came back from the battle corrupted by Unicron's influence, and they thought if they ignored it, it'd go away, but in the end, Alpha Trion thinks it grew and is what caused the eventual War of the Primes, though he also notes there had to have been fertile soil for that darkness to take root. So, the first thing pretty much is that all the 13 split up into 3 different groups, which is noted in this second paragraph. Zeus, if you want to take that.
All right, let me see. Okay. There are too many words here. I can't just skim.
There's the second paragraph, second line, Prima, Vector Prime, Alpha Trion. Oh, third sentence, sorry.
Right. So Prima, Vector, and Alpha Trion were concerned mostly with the government and creating a new civilization. While Megatronus, Leech Maximo, and Amalgamus focused on energon stores, mining, and refining.
Though they weren't happy
What?
Though they weren't happy with the first group's desiring, order and structure and all that.
Yeah, they don't seem like the types. Meanwhile, Micronus, Onyx, Solus, and Nexus were completely disinterested with any of this and just kind of went off to go do their own thing.
And then,
whether that be...
Oh, sorry, another group. There were 4 groups.
Oh, great. Yeah, that was mostly just whatever pertained to them. So, like, Solus went off to do creation stuff, probably.
Yeah.
Cronus learned how to breathe fire. I don't know. I didn't read. You think I am someone who comes to a podcast completely prepared? You think I'm some kind of professional here?
Are we?
So, anyways,
are any of us?
I don't think so.
Nope.
And then
so 13 Alchemist and Quintus kind of just traveled between all these groups.
Because they didn't really belong anywhere, but they didn't.
They belonged nowhere, but also they belonged everywhere.
Yeah.
They were the social butterflies to the Primes High School.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, actually, Liege Maximo was really the social butterfly because he was the true emissary and was always interacting with the groups and relaying information to all the other groups. Because, that charm, that's totally not going to come back and bite anyone in the butt.
So, Soundjack, I'm sure you know this because you've already read it, but I will bet anything that Liege Maximo manipulated all 3 groups into starting the war.
He had to do less than that, but yeah.
Well, with his charm and his silver tongue.
Yeah. His devious plotting and all of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he is definitely involved in the downfall. But the next major part of this chapter was Megatronus and Solus truly falling in love, which some people were like, that's odd, and other people were like, oh, good for them.
I'm sure that's the same crowd that will ship any 2 characters that are in the same frame of the cartoon.
I mean, that includes the 13th Prime, so... Though Megatronus also was jealous because Solus was just, in general, very popular. Gee, I
Wow.
wonder why.
Yeah.
Why would
This
anyone
is-
want to be interested in being in a relationship with her? Oh, wait.
So this really is just high school drama that led to the war.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
What?
Because the only characters that can have like true relationships are between a boy and a girl, even though they're robots, and the text specifically states there's no actual gender in Cybertron.
Yeah.
That's what
And it
bugs me
seems
so.
they've forgotten the rules established by IDW with Rewind and Chrome Dome, Cyclonus and Tailgate.
This was written before that.
They should have known. They've got Vector Prime. He
Wait,
can
was it?
time travel. He could have told them.
Actually, was it? This was published in 2013.
Oh, so
December.
they should have known.
Oh yeah, never mind. That was a whole year after.
All right, great. So I was right.
Yeah, before and after the issue that introduced the first gay couple in IDW of Chrome Dome Rewind was December of 2012.
Yep.
That's why it made me so mad when I read it. Oh, not so much that the relationship exists, but what happens with the relationship.
Right, because
We'll
I've-
get to that point in a
The
bit.
comic's like 6 years old. Is it all right to spoil it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Rewind gets shot out the airlock and dies.
Oh no, I was talking about why I got so mad about the Covenant of Primus.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
With what happens between Solus and Megatronus later.
All right. I don't know that, and that's probably something that we're going to want to wait on for
Yes.
another episode. So
No,
It just-
it's
yeah.
in this section. It's in this section.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, the War of the Primes is the end of the Prime era of the Primes, and yeah. But I guess we move on.
Yeah.
You want to take the next paragraph? After,
Which paragraph is that?
1, 2, 3, 4, and just
So, Discord among the primes?
yes.
Okay. So, I'm bad with words. I don't want to just read this off, but I also can't think of a better way to say it.
Well, do you want me to say it then?
No, just give me another word for Discord.
Tensions.
Okay, so tensions started getting higher between all the primes after Maximo found a chart that Prima had plotted, where Prima had plotted which primes were most like Unicron. So basically, pretty much just a racism chart.
Yeah. Pretty-
yeah.
He made
Alright.
he made a
So after
character alignment chart and rated it from lawful good to chaotic evil, and put himself and Vector up in lawful good, and put like Liege and Megatronus down in chaotic evil.
Yeah, and this of course pissed off edgy Megatronus, because just like every edgy character in every show, he was super ashamed of who he was, and he was ashamed of being super close to being Unicron.
Yep, he was. He came up and then punched Prima in the face.
Prima got punched in the face.
Yep, up squarely in the jaw, and he knocked over a model of a solar system, and then they were rolling on the balls of the model solar system and falling on their backs.
Why was this never a cartoon?
I don't know. Alpha Tri notes it, so I guess it's important.
Yes, the cartoon trope where they all roll around in the marbles. This has gone from high school drama to Home Alone. I love this.
I can't necessarily disagree with that.
Before we continue, I'd like to apologize for once again ruining another Transformers continuity.
Okay, you already ruined the podcast, so why not ruin the continuity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
I'm
I mean, the
sorry.
line continuity wasn't that airtight to begin with, so...
That'd be why this is misaligned, is we're just pointing out the problems,
Yeah.
I guess.
Speaking of problems, more problems arise within the Primes when someone discovered that Liege Maximo, along with the help of Quintus and Megatronus, we're doing experiments on new bestial life forms. And the Liege Maximo wanted a powerful armor suit from Solus to just make sure they're in control. Obviously, just to make sure they're in control. Nothing else.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Sure. Yeah, no ulterior motives. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, that chart with our evil plans? No, ignore that. You don't need to see that.
He even brings a peace offering to her in the form of a baby pet.
Well, I know where this is going.
That she trains and has it fetch things for her in her workshop. And she agrees to it. But a couple of the others want to know what the farm is. And then look into it. And then Prima at one point figures out about it. And he's like, no, you got to shut this down. If you don't shut it down, I'm going to shut it down. Though Alpha Trion ends up accidentally sneaking around and figures out that the ones that Primus saw are actually not them all, and that there are massive ones that apparently are really, really angry.
Alright.
Though eventually a vote is there is actually a vote about this. Because of 13. Because, 13's got to be like, hey guys, calm down. Don't go all dictator on us, Primer. Let's have a vote. Let's make this democratic.
Yep.
Neutral. That's for
Yeah.
Racism alignment chart.
Yep. And then, so they have to vote on whether the farm stays or goes. Solus is the last one to vote, and she actually votes against keeping the farm. Though not without saying, time rust you to Prima.
Is that some kind of Cybertronian insult that just flew over my head there?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Kind of
Most
goes over
likely, yeah.
mine, too. Because I guess they can rust, but they don't rust.
Yeah, I'm not understanding this at all. How far into this chapter are we now?
I think we're about halfway.
All right, I think that's probably a good point to cut it off, because we've probably been doing this for about an hour. I don't want to go on too much longer.
Oh, we definitely did, but I do think we should finish this chapter, and then we can stop it.
If you think you can do it in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, I think we can do it very quickly because
Yeah.
it at this point it does move on very quickly.
All right.
Right.
Because this gets to the point of what I was talking about with the whole problems with Megatronus and Solus. Because Maximo encourages Megatronus to go get the armor from Solus that he wants, which she doesn't tell Liege, but she's actually already finished, and it turns out to be the Apex armor from the Prime cartoon.
Oh, so the Apex armor, and that's like a reference to what's the one? Master Force.
Well,
right? 'Cause
Super God Master Force. Well, the importing of it, because it was called God Bomber in Japan, but then it just came to the US as a non-sentient drone called the Apex armor.
all right.
When
I can't remember what everything's called, because there's like the Japanese version, and there's whatever happened in America.
Yep.
So it's like the Apex armor from the American release. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it.
Pretty much. And that was only for like a re-release, like a commemorative series re-release or something.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so Megatronus
All
goes.
the continuities aside.
Yeah. So Megatronus goes to talk to Solus about the armor. There's a noise that's heard, and people the other 13 rush over to see, and there is a hole through Solus, and she is dead.
Not again, Megatronus.
A hole through a prime. Where have I heard this before?
Huh.
Hmm.
I wonder. Megatronus isn't coming around anytime.
No. Hey, Vector Prime. A while back, something similar happened to you, right?
No, yeah, it's totally it's brought up in the book that the blast pattern looks exactly the same as the one from the Workman Blaster that went through Vector Prime. and all of that, but there's no bringing her back. Maximo like eggs the group on and being like, we gotta go get Megatronus, he's dangerous, we gotta stop him. And a lot of the ones that were closer to Solus are like, yeah, we do, we're gonna go mad, we're gonna go crazy, we're gonna go wild. And everyone's like, calm down. Well, some of the more sensible ones are like, calm down, like 13th. So Vector Prime takes like a small group to go confront Megatronus, with 13 trying to prevent them from doing lynch mob mentality. But before they actually teleport, Solus's body actually dissolves into Cybertron itself, creating a near-perfect circle, creating the Well of All Sparks. So that's the origins behind that, apparently.
That's confusing and kind of dumb.
Yeah. But they felt better because they could feel the spark of their creator, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so they go off. Half of them go off to confront Megatronus, and 13th is like, Megatronus, what happened? And then he goes into his long explanation of what happened, and it's the fact that apparently the pet that Liege Maximo gave Solus actually had security cameras in its eyes that relayed information back to Liege Maximo. So he was...
That's uncomfortable, considering that Solus was the only female Transformer, the only female Prime, and Liege Maximo had cameras on her.
Yeah. Well, it's mostly to like get information on her about her creation of the armor.
Yeah, sure. It was to get information, nothing else.
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't look in the folder on the computer that says work junk.
Yeah. But anyway, so Megatronus, Liege Maximo left like the monitor in a place where Megatronus would find it, and overheard Solus saying, what was it? That she thought Maximo was playing Megatronus for a fool. And hurt by the betrayal, went to retrieve the armor and talk to her. She refused to give it and requested that he return the Requiem Blaster as well. Thinking that, and after that, he thought she never actually loved him. He thought she never loved him. They began to fight. The pet attacked her. He killed the pet. And then Solus was upset at that. Swung the hammer forge at him, and then Megatronus fired the Requiem Blaster through her. Though, not without her saying the final words of, where is it? I wasn't ready. Come on, where does it go? Sorry. Anyway, if I can't find it right now, but anyway, the main thing was that she professed that she did love him.
This was all just a bunch of high school drama.
Yeah.
Yep. That Liege Maximo set up.
Oh.
So this is where my Shakespeare reference comes in. This is just
I know this one.
What is it?
Othello.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Thank you. Finally. High school English actually helped me with something.
The dude that is out of place with everyone else because of their nature, it falls in love with like a pretty woman, and then the jealous, smooth talker engages a plot that causes the outsider to kill his true love, even though she actually loved him. And then, except the fact Megatronus doesn't kill himself at the end here.
Yeah, that's the only difference.
Yeah.
So they're giant robots.
Yeah, that too.
To be fair, we don't know whether or not anyone in Othello was a giant robot.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fair. The script is very vague about those details.
Yeah. Shakespeare. Maybe he was possessed by the ghost of Alpha Trion.
Ooh.
Headcanon. Real world headcanon. The FBI are attempting to break down my door once again. I think Shakespeare was one of the speaking pieces for Alpha Trion.
I'll take it. All
right. Great. We did it.
Anyway.
We solved the mystery of how Shakespeare wrote so many plays.
So many well-received plays.
Yes.
Anyway, we do have to finish up, and we are almost done. So after that, they go back to Maximo, and they all go to the farm to see it destroyed together, and Maximo tries to pin everything on Megatronus. They two start fighting, and then everyone just breaks out into a fight. The beasts are dead. Liege Maximo is dead, though Alpha Trion notes he does not, specifically with a shot through the head with the Requiem Blaster, though Alpha Trion notes of not remembering the blast going off. Yeah. But
sounds very low-key.
Yeah. Liege Maximo's dead. Onyx Prime is gravely injured. Solus is gone. So now they've realized, okay, it's time for our reality to end. Our time to end. So they give a proper funeral for Solus. They give a separate funeral for Liege Maximo. Not everyone cared for Liege Maximo. And
that makes sense. He did attempt to kill them all.
Yeah. And then and then it's noted in the story that like he's just buried in an unmarked tomb, which would be later unearthed by people that would take his arm.
Oh yeah.
I wonder who those people were.
Trying to suggest that is the arm that Megatron in the Prime cartoon stole was in fact Liege Maximo's. Even though they are completely different colors, but okay.
Sure. I mean, hey, for all we know, Alpha Trion was colorblind.
That's true.
Colorblind ghost who possessed Shakespeare. This is a weird headcanon, and it gets worse every time I think about it.
Anyway. So then the other primes discuss what they're going to do. Onyx is going to go to the core of Cybertron using his triptych mask to create even more variety in the new Transformers that are going to be birthed to the planet. Prime is going to stay for a time to like oversee everything. Alpha Trion is going to stay as well and just write down everything that happens to the planet. Vector Prime's just going to go off and keep track of space and time. Solus is dead. Micronus ends up deciding to just spend the rest of eternity with Onyx, since being by the core, Onyx is going to live forever. So they're basically like the guardians of the core, I guess, or something. Alchemist stays and he kind of disappears, though other continuity suggests that he becomes the bartender of Macadam.
What's that again?
It's just like the bar on Cybertron. That's like the neutral bar and like the bar everyone goes to and knows about.
Oh, space bar. Got it.
Yeah, space bar. The space bar. Not just a space bar, the space bar.
Of course, how could I be so forgetful?
Yes. Onyx goes to the core. Nexus secures away some of the more powerful of the weapons. Liege is dead. Quintus goes off to create allies. And Megatronus goes into a self-proclaimed exile and renames himself the Fallen. And then the 13th Prime decides to be rebirthed as one of the new generation of Transformers that will populate the planet. And specifically asks Alpha Trion to have his name in the Covenant changed to 13, so as no one will be able to find the 13th before any necessary time, if any, is required.
And as we all know, this man went on to become Bulkhead.
Incorrect! But this chapter does end with Onyx, the 13th Onyx and Micronus descending into the well, and the first generation is about to be born.
And since we don't want to go into another chapter, I think that's a pretty good point to move on.
Yep, so be sure to follow us on Twitter at Nerdy Geek Talk. That is the main Twitter for the entire channel. Also be sure to check out other shows on our network like Steel City Boss, Awesome Asylum, and so on and so forth.
And our sister show, TF Primecast.
Yep.
Yes.
TF Primecast. You can discover that there. So where can we find you guys on Twitter? Soundjack, let's start off with you.
Okay, you can find me at Twitter at SoundJack426. You can also find me on Instagram and my own YouTube channel where I do reviews and other things, including a podcast just talking about random nerd stuff, including Transformers, just not exclusively Transformers.
All right. Zeus, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at _Zeus. That's the full word _ spelled out. I'm starting a Transformers comic based on the ones that Becca and Aaron are doing, just kind of the same concept. You can find me on Instagram at pcm.exe. Most of what I post there is more Lego oriented because that's just one of my other interests. You can find me on YouTube at PCM Reviews, where, as I mentioned on this week's Steel City Bots, I'm perpetually working on a review of Power of the Prime's Optimus that's most likely never going to be finished. And you can probably find me just lurking around somewhere waiting to ruin another continuity.
Yeah.
Right.
So before we end everything off, before we sign out, I'd like to just once again apologize for ruining the Aligned continuity, and I will be going to a self-proclaimed exile with Megatronus.
You also ruined Jared giving his own Twitter information, so...
Yep. Right. You can find me on Twitter at JaredProCode. That's where I'm at most of the time. If you have any questions about what I got during like any week on the Steel City Bots podcast, which I am also on, ask away. I'll do my best to answer. And yeah, that's about it. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for watching. See ya.
Bye.